This could have 50 health. It still would be F tier. If this was a 4/5 comically, give this 50 health. It's still F tier. Who cares? Oh, this is a joke. This is PopCap playing a joke. Someone thought in the studio we'll just prank him. We'll put a 4-cost card that bounces off the board when it takes 1 damage. Making content for you guys is a full-time job, and it's only possible with your support. Click the link in the description to join my Patreon for access to exclusive streams, deep fry podcasts, private video calls, and more. What's going on, everybody? This is Fry. So today we are going to be moving on to zombies, and we are doing every zombie in the Beastly class that has been changed since the December 2024 balance patch and throughout 2025. Thank you again to Void Spiral for compiling this tier list for me. And we are going to be starting off with a big one, which is Cat Lady. Now, Cat Lady actually got nerfed because this used to have 4 health and now it has 3 health. But this has passively gotten buffed because the only really good deck for Cat Lady is going to be the OTK Cat Lady, which I'm still so surprised more people don't run because it's very powerful and extremely fun deck. If you haven't seen that deck yet, go and find my video from 2025, the OTK Cat Lady. Now, the reason that it is better now is just simply because this card, Yeti Lunchbox, has been buffed. Instead of giving 1/1 to a pet, now it's going to be giving 2/1 to a pet, which is a very big deal for one to kill Cat Lady, where you're trying to teleport in your Cat Lady and play a bunch of Lunchboxes in order to get this up and do 20 damage all in one turn. It used to be that in order to get this to do more than half your opponent's health in one turn, in order to get this to 12 attack, you have to use 3 Lunchboxes. Each Lunchbox is a pet, so it'll give it 3 attack, plus 1 from the Lunchbox is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. Now, 2 Lunchboxes get this to 10, which is half of your opponent's health, so it's teleport, Cat Lady, Lunchbox, bonus attack. That's going to be 20 damage combo, and that is the best way of using Cat Lady, since of course this is giving 1 extra attack right now. You can use Cat Lady in other decks. We did run it, let's say, in the flag pet deck. I think I called that Keeper of the Yetis. We ran unironically 3 different types of Yetis in that deck, and that was pretty good. But the ultimate deck for Cat Lady is going to be definitely in the OTK Cat Lady. I'm going to be putting this in high B tier. Now, in terms of power, this could have been in A, but since it's really limited to one type of deck, I'm putting this in B. And again, I'm really valuing on this tier list power, but also how often should you be looking to run this in a deck. Practically, this card, just putting this in a deck with a bunch of pets is usually going to be, in most cases, a bad idea. But it is good if you're doing it really smart with either Flag Zombie or with your OTK with all the Lunchboxes. Next, we're going to be moving on to Nibble. So Nibble, instead of healing you, is then going to conjure a gourmet card when it destroys a plant. That's the difference. Now, overall, I believe that this is a better ability than healing. The fact that you have your small removal, that it's going to really not make you run out of cards, and it's going to be conjuring you, pretty useful. You know, the gourmet class, the gourmet tribe is a pretty useful set of cards. Is usually going to be cards that are above average, and they're also going to be just buffing you. They're going to be very strong utility. A couple of them are going to be useless, like you don't want to be getting random Nebula or random Garg Feast, obviously. But a lot of these are, some of the real actual premier cards in the game. Jack of all trade cards too, like getting Healthy Tree. There's never wrong with ever getting Healthy Tree as your conjure. Same with usually Cheese Cutter, bonus attacks, Thinking Cap, Fruitcake. These are just a really versatile set of cards over here. The reason why we're gonna have to put Nibble down a few pegs is because this is pretty useless in today's meta, and that's the reason why is going to be Sunshroom. This is just not going to answer Sunshroom. You can give it -1/1, and then it's turning into the Sunnier Shroom the next turn, since Sunshroom has 2 health. If Sunshroom had 1 health, this would be a top tier card, and the moment that they nerf Sunshroom any which way, this will actually become useful, because then the really strong early game threats are going to be Bonk Joy, Admiral Navy Bean, Astro Shroom if people are playing that early. There's going to be a lot of things that this is actually going to hit and destroy, besides for the fact that something that has just been reduced, made a good trade and is reduced down to 1 health. This will finish it off. So this could have easily been an A tier card or even an S tier card, depending on different metas. Right now, as of May 2026, this is a C tier card. You should barely ever be running this. And it's really, really sad. And honestly, it's basically single-handedly due to the fact that the meta on the plan side is 2 health, not 1 health. I mean, there's a lot of bonk choice. Maybe this is better than I'm giving it credit for, but I'm just not. I'm always running dog instead. Anyway, moving right along to Lunchbox. So besides for the usefulness with OTK Cat Lady, like I explained before, this is just a very good card. 1 cost, give a guy 2/1 is very, very strong. Think of it as a sugary treat that has a little less attack, but costs half the amount. There's a lot of very good pets too. We're running dog these days in basically every beastly deck to be able to deal with Sunshroom, but there's also other good early game ones like Frady Cat. There's just some very decent pets that you'll be able to hit it. Otherwise, giving a guy 1/1 really isn't even that bad. A lot of times we'll turn a losing trade into a winning trade, or at least into an even trade. And I think this is very versatile. I really like doing, and we're moving right along to Synchronized Swimmer, which I'll talk about. I really love running this with Synchronized Swimmer. I'm going to put this in A tier. I think this is actually a very, very solid deck in pet decks, obviously, but even just in general in any decks that happen to be running some early game pets. Moving right along to Synchronized Swimmer. Now, the reason this is in the tier list is for the most comically laughable balance nerf that in the entire history of PvZ Heroes, honestly, that this was a 2/2 stats and now it's a 2/1 stats. And obviously, since this is copying the attack and health of another zombie, the only time the 2/2 and the 2/1 would make a difference is if this comes onto the board, you play it, and there's nothing else on the board. The difference between, again, you're never intentionally playing Synchronized Swimmer like that. The only time it'll ever happen is usually if it comes out of like an egg or from a leap or something like this. But Synchronized Swimmer typically is always going to be copying the stats of something else. And this is a very, very, very good card. You can obviously combine this. The classic combos with Secret Agent, scooping up a 1-drop on turn 2 and then replaying it on turn 3 with the Swimmer. And both of them will get the 3/3 buff and it'll copy the stats. A very, very strong early game play. But as I mentioned before, you can even just play your Dog Walker on turn 1, which is a good play these days. And if they don't play anything, you're able to then buff the Dog Walker to a 4/3 with your Lunchbox and then play the Swimmer the next turn on turn 3. If you have Area 22, which you're basically running in every beastly deck, these are cards that you're running very often too. Like Area 22 is almost auto include in every beastly deck. Anything you put in here and you copy with the Swimmer is going to be good. You can also go after big cards. I mean, really playing like Gargs and then copying with Swimmer is fine. So any big guy that you got on the board, this is really just going to capitalize on any big plays that you have. You obviously don't want to get bricked. You want this to be consistent, where you're in a deck that you're going to be having consistent buffs. But I mean, this is either S or A tier. This could very easily be a low S tier card. I'm going to put this low S tier because the amount of actual power and the amount of decks that you can really look to run this in, there's almost never a bad idea to run at least like 2 Synchronized Swimmers in a beastly deck. Anything that you're going to end up with big guys on the board. For real. You can copy Blob. You can copy... there's so many useful things for Synchronized Swimmer, and it's going in S tier. Next, we're going to go to Zookeeper. So here's a buff that I really, really liked. This used to be 2 cost 2/2, which was extremely sad stats. Now it's 2 cost 1/3. 1/3 doesn't actually survive that often on turn 2. Against plants, because it's dying to Berry Blast, it's dying to Meteor, it's dying to any way that plants can deal 3 damage, which very often they will have a way to do that. Playing this on turn 2 and then playing a bunch of pets, you can play maximum basically 3 pets. It's very unlikely that you'll even have 3 pets. They can play 2 pets, they'll get a 2 damage buff. That's best case scenario. You're not always going to have that. This card still has consistency problems because you don't just need one other pet for this to be good. You need kind of like multiple cheap pets in your hand, and then you also need this to be just a dry zombie played on turn 2 that it is not getting answered on turn 2, which is also a stretch. So it does have consistency problems when you pull this off and they don't have an answer to it, and then you have just a ton of pets to play. it does work out. That's why we run this. Typically, the only deck I really run this with is with Smash and with Flag Zombie, because then you can play your Flag Zombie on turn 2, or you can play Flag Zombie Zookeeper plus some 1-drops on turn 3, and that's a way to sort of ensure that this won't get answered, and you're going to be able to play more pets together with this in order to get the value. It could be, again, another card that maybe we have to experiment more, just playing this dry on turn 2 and not... You kind of have to build the deck around this. That's the problem. There's really only 3 cards right now that have pet synergy. Zookeeper is the main one, and then Cat Lady kind of only buffs itself, and then there's going to be Yeti Lunchbox, which, again, this isn't going to be... Just run Yeti Lunchbox at that point. Like, you don't... Zookeeper is kind of a card that you need to be building the whole deck around it with the pets, and then if you don't get your Zookeeper, you're kind of just running a pet deck that doesn't really have a ton of synergy. Those are the problems with Zookeeper. I'm going to put this... It's so sad that this card got exactly the buff that I wanted to, and it still sucks. It has, again, the 3 health, which I love, but I feel like we just need there to be maybe more pet synergy. It's an okay card, and I'm putting it in high C tier. Sorry. Here's Alien Ooze. So Alien Ooze used to be -2/2, and then when it's on Heights, -6/6. And the 2/2 is very sad. Now it's -3/3, and on Heights it's still 6/6. So it still has that usefulness for the Heights and the environment of being the big removal card. But even if a minion is not in Heights or environment, it's just stuck on a ground lane. Plants know how to play around Alien Ooze when they see the Beastly class. This is the Beastly class main removal card. They're not going to play their big guys on Heights. They're going to play them on the grounds. And now this is really on par. This is actually above par, even on the ground lane. -3/3 for 3 costs is a lot. It's not only destroying a lot of things and negating a lot of things, everything from Captain Cucumber to Sporticus to Cool Bean, the cards they're playing on turn 3, but this is also going to just even bigger cards like a 5/5. This is going to reduce it down to 2/2, which means you can either ignore it, or you can turn a lost trade into a very good trade, because it's reducing both the health and the attack. It's not just dealing 3 damage. It's doing way, way more than that. Alien Ooze you can run practically in every Beastly deck. It doesn't matter. Tempo, control, even aggro, just to keep your lanes clear, but certainly in tempo and control decks you can definitely run this. I'd say maybe Rocket Science probably is a little more useful, because there's Fig and there's a lot of things that you really kind of need to remove in the late game in terms of your late game removal, but this will obviously hit things that Rocket Science won't, things with only 3 attack or less. This is going to be much more useful. Or really jack of all trades cards, and you can definitely run this in basically every single Beastly deck. There ain't nothing wrong with running a couple Alien Oozes, and that's why it's going in S tier. Next is Piano. The B flats used to cost 4, and now it costs 3. So, it is much, much better at 3. It still has a very random effect. The best way to make sure that this effect won't be random is to play this in a control deck, and you're actually hard removing every single card that they play every single turn, and then B flat can take out anything. It take out a 6 or 7 drop as long as it doesn't have Untrickable. This is not as good as Alien Ooze, and this is really, you're never going to be running this in like a tempo deck. It's not going to be useful. This is really only going to be useful again in a control deck where you're consistently removing all the little minions. You don't want to play this and it hits a 1-drop. You want this to hit something that costs 3 or more. So because of its lack of versatility, but it still is a decent card, I'm going to be putting this in high C tier. Or low B tier. It's really not bad. It's probably better right now than Nibble and Zookeeper. I'm going to put it in a low B tier. Next, we've got Kangaroo, which was buffed from 4 attack and 3 health to 4 attack and 4 health. The problem is that this is the card that even when it takes 1 damage, it bounces itself off the board, negating the 4 brains that you'll never be able to get back. And of course, there's only one place where Kangaroo, until it is completely... Even if this thing had 10 health, this would be an F tier. Seriously! If this was a 4/10, it would still be an F tier. Why did they turn this into a 4/4? That doesn't make sense. Give it 10 attack. Make it a 10/3. It's the only way that this could even be half decent. Make it a 10/4. 10/4. So at least go back in your hand instead of getting bounced off the board. 10/4, guys. That's a thing, right? This is so bad. A 4 cost 4/4 with no ability is awful. That's just like marching band. This card over here, Drum Major. This is an F tier card. You should never run it. And this at least has some dancing and sports energy, some semblance of some sanity. This has 4 cost 4/4 and an ability that makes it worse. I don't know what the plan with this was. Was there gonna be some like idea where it's you think it's heal, but you're spending 4 to heal a 4 cost card. It's healing itself every turn, like it's taking damage, and you play it. Oh, it has its 4 health back. Like, make this just heal to full health at the end of every turn. But it's a kangaroo, so it has to bounce. How about instead of bouncing itself when it gets hurt, it bounces whatever the opponent, whatever it hurts, it bounces. That would actually be a good ability. 4 cost 4/4. When this hurts a plant, bounce the plant. He's got the boxing gloves on. He's gonna knock it. He's gonna, ready to rumble, knock him out of the ring. You guys know that game from the 90s, before all you were born. You know what I'm saying, guys? This could have 50 health. It still would be F tier. If this was a 4 comically, give this 50 health, it's still F tier. Who cares? Oh, this is a joke. This is PopCap playing a joke. Someone in the studio thought, we'll just prank him. We'll put a 4 cost card that bounces off the board when it takes 1 damage. With no other abilities, just has 4 attack, a mediocre amount of attack. You know that this used to have 5 health back in the beta. Back in 2016, this had 5 health and it got nerfed down to 3 because someone thought that was too powerful. I'm still flabbergasted. I talk about this every single beastly tier list. I've done this a bunch of times, and now that I'm thinking about it again, I'm just dumbfounded. What the hell they were thinking with this? This is the bottom of the bottom of F tier. This might be the single worst card in PvZ. I'm trying to think. Firefighter is for sure better than this. This is the worst card in PvZ Heroes, period. I would rather have a 1 cost 1 imp, because at least that can get deadly when you have Toxic Waste Imp. And it's the bottom of the... You know what? It's going in please nerf tier, because I want it to be worse. I want this to be not even exist from the game, guys. This just should be deleted and into the void. The hell is this card? Anyway, we're moving right along here. Overstuffed. It's so bad. It's impressive. But anyway, Overstuffed Zombie. So this got completely reworked. What this used to do was it did not have hunt. And when this would eat a plant, when it would destroy plant survive, its max health would go up by 2. So instead of being a 4/4, it would become a 4/6. Now this has hunt, which is an improvement because now it's going to be able to control a little bit better on turn 4. When it destroys a plant and survives, it's not gaining 2 health and healing the max health, which it used to do. Now it's just healing the max health to its 4. It stays at 4 health, but it's healing your hero for 2. So it's a little bit of a control heal card. This also needs to survive in order to do the healing. Like it needs to... it doesn't heal you for 2 just for destroying a plant. It needs to survive in order to heal your face for 2. When it's killing a plant. If this is an even trade, it doesn't do anything. It's basically just a 4/4 hunt, as opposed to Mr. Bounty Hunter, which is the better card, which first of all has Frenzy. It has hunt, same exact stats, but when this destroys a plant, it draws a card. This does its ability even when it dies. So if this matches up against an even trade, this is going to be drawing you the card. So this is the better card for sure for that reason alone. Plus, drawing a card is probably better than healing for 2. If this healed for a lot more, you could even start arguing about this between 3 or 4. Maybe you can start arguing that would be better than drawing a card, but healing for 2 is pretty mediocre at best. And this doesn't have Frenzy. The whole thing, Frenzy is a really big deal on a pretty heavy stat card like this, because it can't be chump blocked, and there's a lot of things, if you grow it, there's a lot of stuff that will improve there. So Overstuffed Zombie is completely outclassed by Bounty Hunter. The little bit of healing it provides, again, is unreliable and not a very good ability. It doesn't have Frenzy. Poor Overstuffed Zombie. It's probably, I want to optimistically say it's in D tier because it's actually a very cool card and I kind of like the rework, but practically this is an F tier card. You should basically never, ever, ever run over Stuff Zombie. It's really, really sad and breaks my heart to say that, but that's the sad reality. And then putting this into, hunting grounds used to be a good idea, but now it used to gain more health, but this is still just staying as a 4/4. Yeah, this is probably worse than it was before, not gonna lie. Probably the thing of it gaining health and becoming this monster then that could not be removed once it got going. That's probably better than healing your phase for a little bit. It definitely is better. Which will then make its other ability of healing the full health better. This one, healing your face, doesn't make it healing itself to back to 4 health any better. Its abilities used to synergize, and now they don't. Sorry, Overstuffed Zombie. You're an F tier. All right, Primordial Cheese Shover went from 4/3 to 4/4, and that really doesn't make a ton of a difference. Again, it has par stats now instead of having 3 health. I mean, I guess that sort of does make a bit of a difference. The main problem this card has always had is that it's a control card that's a dry zombie. So unless you're teleporting this in, which is a whole can of worms, unreliable can of worms, this is not going to be a good card on turn 4 because you're playing it on turn 4. First of all, you have to zombie evolution. You have to sacrifice one of your own zombies, so you're losing tempo. And it also makes it less versatile. You can't play this on an empty board. And then it's also only going to be removing what they played the turn before on turn 3. And then they can play a 4-drop that is more powerful, and you're not doing anything about that. The reason why this is actually better now than it ever was before is because of Gravitry. Gravitry is one of the most oppressive, probably the second to most oppressive plant in the game right now, of course, after Sunshroom. And this is a huge untrickable guy, and means that you need to be able to use a zombie ability in order to kill this. Deadly is probably the easiest way, but after that, Cheese Shover is really going to be the answer to it. In a meta that was very established, I think this actually could become meta as a way of dealing with Gravitry, since if we really had a very highly competitive mode, it is very likely we would see Primordial Cheese Shover actually be a thing, just to be able to deal with Gravitry. But for now, when you're playing PvZ Heroes, you're playing Ranked, this is just a very unreliable removal card, and you have very good, much more reliable removal cards in the Beastly class. It does have a niche, so I'm going to be putting it in C tier, but that's, yeah, definitely where it belongs. The next card is going to be Vengeful Cyborgs. This is a 5-cost 5/6. Now, this sees no play, so in terms of running this actually in a deck, it's definitely an F tier, even though it got buffed from 5/5 to 5/6. The only thing that this did was make Cyborg the actual good card, the 2-cost 3/2, which gives you the Vengeful Cyborg. Getting this as a free token once your Cyborg Zombie dies, that's fine. You have another 5-cost card. It's also a science card, so it works with Gadget Scientists. It's just a thing to play on turn 5 if you don't have a turn 5 play. And it's not a decent card to be running in your deck, but it is a decent, with the 5/6 stats, it really is a very, very decent token card to get. So even though this is definitely buffed, and again, if you're going to be considering its association with Cyborg Zombie, it's actually very, very good. This was a significant buff because now the card has actually very good stats that you're getting from it. In terms of actually running this card in a deck, it's an F tier. And Cyborg Zombie, other than the fact that it's dying very badly to Cabbage Pult. Cabbage Pult is a very, very good card. It's an S tier card in the Mega Hero class, a very common card. This dies. Used to trade against everything. In fact, this was so good because it used to deal, one of the few ways of dealing with Triceratops. This is still a good card because it deals with Twin Sunflower, and it's still just a 3/2. It has Hunt, it controls, and it gives you a card when it dies. Still a very, very good, I mean, this is still an S tier card, to be honest, even with its Cabbage Pult problems. And this is the one you run. This one, you never, ever, 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 ever run, because there's such better options on turn 5. I mean, just run Supernova Guard or whatever other class you're running. Every class is going to have something 5-cost card, which is way, way, way better. I mean, miles better. So much better than a 5-cost 5/6 Hunts. Every class has a better card. Here's one. I don't even have to talk about Sneaky, who has the 2 best 5-drops in PvZ Heroes, arguably. Yep. So it's an F tier, but it sees a lot of, indirectly sees a lot of play because of my man Cyborg Zombie. Next, we're moving on to a big one. So this used to just be a vanilla 7/8, just a Garg. And they gave this a whole bunch of abilities, which is awesome. I love the I mean, this is a card that got completely reworked. 6 cost 6/6. This used to be when you played itself, it used to buff itself by 1/1, and that was actually really, really overpowered. What they did was they added an exception to the ability of gaining 1/1 when any zombie enters a lane, and the exception is any card that is named Deep Sea Gargantuar. So this doesn't buff itself when it's played, and it also doesn't buff when it doesn't get buffed when another Deep Sea Garg is played. Deep Sea Garg doesn't buff another Deep Sea Garg, but this will this actually does way more than it says on this ability, because when any zombie enters any lane, that zombie gets 1/1. But this does way more than that. First of all, the Deep Sea Garg itself is gaining 1/1 as well, besides for that zombie, so it's completely mislabeled. Also, when this moves, it will be gaining 1/1. So as this hunt, you plop this in the water lane, and it's going to be hunting things and becomes a 7/7. A very good card. It's going to be much better with the Smash because of Gargologist. You can play this early, but this really does have some usefulness even without Gargologist, because you can play this and then really just play every single minion that you're playing. You're getting a lot of buffs all over the board. It's still a big Garg that dies very badly to like Shamrocket and Big Removal, but also like Cob Cannon got nerfed, so that's why all Gargs are better right now. I'm going to be putting this in high B tier. It's still very limited in terms of the amount of decks you can use, and it's not the most powerful card in the game, but it's a very, very solid. This is high B tier. Could have been a low A tier, but I don't think it's versatile enough actually in enough decks. It's mostly just going to be in a Smash Gargologist deck, and it's quite good in that one. High B tier. Next, we are going to move along to King the Grill. So King the Grill's ability used to be that it was conjuring a gourmet card when it destroys a plant. Now it's conjuring you a Gargantuar card when it destroys a plant. I showed you guys the gourmet cards before, which are good, but honestly, conjuring a Gargantuar is better, because since this is a 6 cost card, the thing that you want on turn 6 is another late game card. Those are the cards that you really are going to be more impactful at that stage of the game. Cheese Cutter, which is a 1 cost card, you want gourmet cards. King of the Grill, a 6 cost card, you want Gargantuars. This also allows you to run less late game because you have this potential card draw. And this is not only drawing you cards when it itself destroys a plant, but when any Gargantuar on the board destroys a plant, it has that synergy. It's also going to be conjuring you a Garg. So since you're don't need to run quite as much late game, it means you can run more early game and have a much more solid early game base. That really is the mindset now of this card, since it's conjuring you always a Gargantuar, which is always going to be a late game card. This is very good. It's about actually the same usefulness as the Deep Sea Garg. Deep Sea Garg obviously gives you more tempo on the board, but this gives you the card draw. A lot of times you're going to be running these two in tandem together with some other Gargs for your Garg decks. And we will be moving right along to Nerf. Ooh, this was a big buff. This is a very expensive 7 cost, but very, very impactful. Nerf's Gargantuar makes any Gargantuar that does damage heals you. And this can so easily just instantly heal you up to 20 health. Go look up my Nerf's Gargantuar deck. That we did. You can do it. There's a few different heroes that you can do this with. You can do it with Boogaloo, you can do it with Immorticia, and of course you can always do it with the Smash because of Gargologist. So a very, very impactful card in terms of the healing. I mean, just keeping you alive in that late game, especially if you're trying to like wait until you play your Zombot or something like that. This is quite good. I'm probably just going to be putting this in B tier together with the other Gargs. Again, very limited. It's got to be a Garg deck. You got to find a way of... Very often playing dry Gargs nowadays is still actually very, very bad. So it's typically more going to be useful when you're teleporting it in with Immorticia or Gargologist with the Smash. But again, you can pull this off with Boogaloo if you have the right control tools in the early game and you're not falling behind. And then it synergizes in a very cool way with the crazy class, because you have Frankatar that's doing splash damage and it's healing with splash damage. That was a lot of fun when we did that. Octo Zombie. So this used to just be an 8/8 frenzy. Then when it gets destroyed, it goes back. You gain another copy in your hand. Now this is going to be making Octo Pet. So even if this gets removed by that Shamrocket, it's still leaving something on the board. Now, unfortunately, that something is just a 3/2. If you go and you compare this, for example, to Plankwalker, which has similar stats, so to 8/8 Frenzy, it's 6/6 Strike Through. This is making 2 Pirates on the board. Imagine this was just making a 3/2. That would be so much worse. But this can sometimes be making Garg Throwing Garg. It could be making Warlord. It could be making some really highly Gondola, very highly impactful cards. If this is making very small cards, it starts just making a Swabby and a Swashbuckler. Zombot's not a good card either. This is almost reliably, it's very similar card to Plankwalker, and it's reliably not making the big cards. I think in order for this to really be good, this would have to make something much bigger. Like make a 5/6 Octopet, with Frenzy, something like that, instead of just making a 3/2 on the board, a 3/2 Frenzy. On turn 8, that doesn't actually matter that much. This is not a Garg, it's a pet, who cares? Very little pet synergy since those are all early game cards, so that class doesn't matter. Practically Octo Zombie, there's always going to be better options. Either have your Zombot if you're going that route, or you're going to have your very highly impactful Gargs. Like, just compare it to Garg Throwing Garg. This is such a better card because the potential of this and then throwing an actual good card on the board is high, as long as it's not getting hard removed. This, it's throwing it immediately. Obviously, it's better to launch something on play rather than waiting until it gets hurt. But practically, the other card that it's putting on the board is not good. Again, every once in a while, you'll have an Octo Zombie. You play it. It's got Frenzy. If they are not able to answer this, it's basically unchump blockable. They can't really put a unit in front of this and prevent the 8 damage because of the Frenzy. So that does give it a little bit of credit, but typically there is going to be a cheaper. There's so many, especially in the Beastly class. But even more so if you look at other classes. I mean, just look at Mechasaur, which costs less. This is a billion times better card than Octo Zombie. Trickster is better. Viking is even if Octo Zombie costs 5, okay, it probably would be better than Viking at 5, but it costs 8. Like, there's just such better finishers in the kind of deck that you'd be running Octo Zombie. Practically, it makes me sad that practically Octo Zombie is going in D tier because you're almost never going to run it. Again, every once in a while, you'll see someone play Octo Zombie and the opponent can't answer it and it takes over a game because of the 8 damage. It's a good finisher, but it's really not doing enough, and it's super, super expensive. A lot of games don't even last until turn 8, and that's the sad truth. In order to be an 8 or more cost card, that insane 7, 8, 9 cost card in PvZ Heroes as a zombie, you got to be super duper impactful, which leads us very nicely to the next card. And here's the big one, Zombot, guys. So Zombot, this has been one of the biggest changes, I'd say, in the history of PvZ Heroes. Zombot used to be a 9 cost 9/9, not a gravestone, and it used to destroy everything on the board. Now it's a gravestone, and it destroys the plants here and next door. It doesn't destroy all 5 lanes. So that is a significant nerf, the fact that it's not hitting 5 lanes, especially when you're leaping up to a Zombot, the thing that we really like to do, which is turning your 8 cost card into a 9 cost card. It's always Zombot. This card, in terms of its actual playability, it's very controversial. If you're just looking at it as a card in itself, or you're running it in a Garg deck, this card did get better, because it used to be when you just played this on turn 9, you could just chump block it with any 1 cost card and then use your 8 remaining sun to just devastate them in the other lanes, because this was only destroying the cards they played the turn before, not the turn after. The main usefulness of the Zombot before it got Gravestone was to teleport in Zombot on turn 10. That was something Immorticia would do, control very well, use Cryo Brains to gain more brains every single turn, and teleport Zombot was the devastating play. That used to be the best use for Zombot, and now it's not useful at all, because when you teleport in Zombot, it just becomes a Gravestone. It doesn't do anything till the next turn. It's also not wiping all 5 lanes. It's only going to be wiping 3. So this is going to be more useful in a Garg deck. This is really going to be the most useful in a Gravestone control deck. Zombot 1000 lives and dies with Gravebuster. It's a 9 cost, by far the most expensive gravestone in the game. It's a 9 cost gravestone, and if they have grave removal when you play this, you lose the game on the spot. And if they don't have grave removal, you're typically winning the game on the spot, because the amount of value this gets when it pops out, it's killing 3 lanes, it's killing dragon, it's killing it does so much killing 3 lanes, plus you're doing 9 damage guaranteed to their face because that lane emptied. So yeah, the card really just changed so much in terms of the types of decks you would run. Practically the only deck, in my opinion, that you're going to be running Zombot is in a deck with Pogo and Yeti and M.U.G and maybe Gargalith. So you're running a bunch of early game gravestones to absorb their grave removal, and then when the Zombot comes in, they don't have that Gravebuster or that Blockbuster or Grave Flick or, Cool Bean. They don't have those removal cards anymore to be able to deal with the Zombot. If they don't have a grave removal card, or especially if you're against Solar Flare, Chumpzilla, Rose, heroes that typically aren't running any grave removal, so then this is going to be a very, very good card, and is practically better than it was in the past. In terms of reliably running this as a finisher in the deck, again, you could run this with Gargologist, but even with Gargologist, it still costs 7. This is really very difficult to have your Gargologist live. On turns 2 and 3, you can get your Gargologist to live. On turns 7, very, very difficult to get a 2-3 to reliably live and be able to play your Zombot 2 turns earlier. Practically as a card, oh man, where do we put Zombot? It also needs to be in a late game control deck. There's no practical use of this in any kind of tempo or aggro. It's got to be super late game control. Not a deck that relies on teleport. Where do we put this? I'm going to put it in high B tier. I think this is actually, it's going to be going along with all of its Gargantuar friends, and it really is not even similar. I think these are going to be more with Gargologist, and then this one's going to be more with Brain Freeze with Pogo Yeti and M.U.G. But yeah, I mean, to have a 9 cost card rely on them not having grave removal sucks, but it can be very, very good. All right, that is the Beastly. Those are all the cards that have been changed in the Beastly class over the last year and a half. If you guys disagree with anything that I have said, please leave those comments respectfully in the comment section below and make it intellectual, not personal, please, guys. I'm begging you. And we have, of course, a very big class coming up, which is the Braining class, which has changed a lot and has some very, very impactful cards. We'll be getting to that one next. If you want to see continue to see tier lists of all the cards that have been changed in the balance patches, be sure to subscribe. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace. This is Fry. I left this here as a joke. This is the fucking stupidest card. This is the dumbest card I've ever seen in any card game, probably ever. Just in terms of pure, just in terms of just complete brain rot. This card sucks out loud. This is so bad. This is so bad.